Are you tired of feeling lost in your own emotions? Do you long for that heaviness inside to finally lift, to feel like yourself again? We all go through difficult times, pain, loss, and sorrow. It's a part of being human after all. But while sadness is a natural response to life's challenges, sometimes it seems to take over, clouding everything in its path. It feels like the weight of the world is resting on your shoulders, and no matter where you turn, it follows you. If this sounds familiar, then it's time to take charge. The truth is, sadness doesn't have to define you or control your life. It doesn't have to be a permanent fixture. As Stoics, we understand that life's pain often comes from how we respond to it. Our actions have consequences, and so do our thoughts and feelings. The good news? You have the power to take action, to shift your mindset, and to rebuild your emotional foundation. In fact, your life can improve. It is absolutely possible to break free from the grip of sadness, and we're here to help you start that journey. Here's where to begin. The first step is assessment. Take a deep breath and look inward. Do a mental survey of what's really weighing you down. It's time to face your sadness head on, but don't rush it. You may find this process difficult, and that's okay. Change is never simple, but it begins with awareness. While you create your list, don't be discouraged by the challenge. Acknowledge that it's not a quick fix, but what if we told you that slowly, over time, you can begin to dismantle your sadness? Imagine chipping away at it, little by little, until one day you realize that the burden feels a little lighter. That's what we're aiming for, a gradual release. The first place to start, let go of what isn't yours to carry. Take a moment to think about it. How much of your sadness is actually within your control? How much comes from things that are beyond your reach? Past hurts, other people's actions, or the overwhelming state of the world? If you found that your list of things you can't change is quite long, then it's time to adjust your focus. For those feelings tied to other people, you could try something empowering. Write down your thoughts and feelings about them, or even have an open conversation. When it comes to bigger, global issues that are out of your control, remind yourself some things are just bigger than you. They are beyond your influence, and it's okay to acknowledge that. Focus on what you can control. The Stoics remind us that we have the power to control only a few things in life: our thoughts, our actions, and our reactions. You can't control whether someone will treat you unfairly, but you can absolutely control whether you allow their actions to ruin your day. The next step is to zoom in on those things you can actually influence. Consider this. Are there areas in your life that you can change, small adjustments that might lead to a much happier you? Dysfunctional coping mechanisms. Recognizing the real issue. Sometimes the problem lies not in the sadness itself, but in the way we cope with it. If your go-to method of dealing with sadness involves unhealthy habits, whether it's escaping into alcohol or staying stuck in toxic relationships, this might be the root cause of your distress. Recognizing this is the first step in freeing yourself from it. Every day you have the choice to reframe your mindset. By focusing on what you can control and letting go of what you can't, you're taking back your power. You are not helpless in your sadness, and you can create a new path forward. The journey may be long, but each step forward is a victory. So let's begin. Step by step, we'll start making progress toward a life where sadness no longer defines us. And remember, as the Stoics say, every challenge we face is an opportunity to grow. As we continue on this journey to reclaim our happiness, let's pause and reflect. In the previous section, we discussed the power of recognizing that our sadness often stems not from external events, but from how we interpret them. Now let's dive deeper into how we can apply this concept in real-life situations to reshape our emotions and reactions. Are you ready to challenge your own judgments and reframe your perspective? Sometimes the answer to ending our suffering is simpler than we think. If you're in a situation where your happiness is being drained by toxic people or environments, the solution might be as clear as walking away. If you find yourself in a situation where your trust has been broken and you're consistently being hurt, there is no amount of self-deception that can make you feel better. In these cases, the right choice is obvious. Distance yourself from what is damaging. When you make this decision, your happiness will significantly improve. This might be the clearest, most direct answer to your struggles. But what if the situation isn't as straightforward, or you can't just walk away? This is where Stoicism provides us with invaluable guidance. The Stoics taught that we are disturbed not by the events themselves, but by our judgments about those events. Let that sink in for a moment. It's not the event that causes our distress, it's our interpretation of it. This is huge. It's a perspective-shifting revelation. Think about it. How many times have you reacted to a situation only to later realize that your emotional response wasn't based on the event itself, but on the judgments you made about it? This idea aligns with modern psychological practices as well. Cognitive behavioral therapy, for example, focuses on identifying and changing those negative thought patterns that trap us in cycles of pain and suffering. At its core, it's about reframing your thoughts. So what does this reframing look like in action? Let's say you face a setback in your career. Maybe you don't get a job offer after putting in a lot of effort. The event in itself is neutral. It simply is. But the judgment you make about it, such as "I'm a failure" or "I'll never succeed," that's what really causes the suffering. It's the story you tell yourself about the event that shapes your emotional reality. If you want to feel less sad, start by challenging your judgments about the things you're experiencing. Let go of the sadness attached to situations where you were not the cause. And for those situations where you were more directly involved, ask yourself some tough questions. Is my judgment about this truly accurate? This question isn't about suppressing the truth or pretending everything is perfect. Stoicism doesn't ask us to deny the reality of pain or hardship. It doesn't tell us to shove our emotions down and ignore them. What it teaches is how to respond in a way that empowers us. Stoicism is about embracing the facts and then deciding how we want to interpret and respond to them. You have the agency to choose your emotional response. Yes, you can allow yourself to feel sadness, to process it in a healthy way, and then, with Stoic wisdom, formulate a more constructive response. It's a powerful tool to reshape your relationship with your emotions. You can also start questioning whether your judgments about your sadness are even accurate. We've all seen it with our friends, haven't we? They often make judgments about people or situations that seem exaggerated to us. Take, for example, a friend who might be in a relationship with someone who has both good qualities and flaws. But when they're emotionally invested, they often fail to see those flaws clearly, focusing only on the good parts. Once the relationship ends, we might see things for what they truly were, the flaws that our friend overlooked or exaggerated. Perhaps their judgment was clouded by emotion. Could it be that the same happens with us in moments of sadness? Could our judgments be distorting the reality of the situation? So, what are we mistaken about in our own sadness? It's a tough question, but an important one. In fact, it's a question worth reflecting on deeply, as it can open the door to greater clarity and emotional freedom. As we explore this together, let's remember the powerful techniques we've discussed so far. To recap, we began by surveying our lives, identifying the issues and memories that have made us sad. And now we're realizing that by altering our judgments, we can change how we experience the world around us. This journey to a lighter heart and a clearer mind doesn't happen overnight, but with each step, we move closer to emotional freedom. And that, my friends, is where true happiness begins. As we've seen so far, the key to overcoming sadness lies in understanding it deeply and critically analyzing the judgments we make about it. Now let's take it a step further. Once we've identified what's beyond our control and scrutinized our negative judgments, the Stoics suggest that we must also explore the nature of our sadness itself. Why do we feel sad? What triggers it? This is an essential part of our journey toward emotional freedom. Sadness isn't some random, unpredictable feeling. It often has specific triggers, like a chain of events or a sudden memory that sets us off. It's like knocking over a row of dominoes. One thing happens and suddenly we find ourselves feeling overwhelmed. A news headline, a casual comment, or even a forgotten task can become the spark that ignites our sadness, leading us into a spiral of negative emotions that may feel impossible to escape. Some people may believe that their sadness is just a part of who they are, thinking, I'm just a sad person. But that's not the whole picture. What's more accurate is that our sadness is often shaped by the stories we tell ourselves. These stories are not random. They are deeply tied to specific causes, and they often stem from cognitive distortions. What are cognitive distortions? In modern psychology, these are the thought patterns that twist our perception of reality and amplify our negative emotions. For example, consider all or nothing thinking. You might think, if I don't succeed at this one thing, I'm a failure. This kind of thinking is extreme and unrealistic. Another common distortion is catastrophizing, where one small problem leads us to believe our entire life is falling apart. But here's the thing, that's not reality. That's an overreaction, a distorted lens through which we're seeing the world. So what can we do about it? Let's try a quick exercise to challenge these distortions. Think back to the last time you felt deeply sad. What was the trigger? What happened just before the sadness set in? Was it something that seemed minor at first, like not hearing from a friend for a few days? Did you automatically think, they don't care about me, or I have no friends? That's a classic distortion. Instead, try reframing that thought. Maybe they're busy or going through something themselves. I'll reach out to see how they're doing. Or I usually let them do all the work of reaching out, but I need to take the initiative too. This kind of shift in thinking can make all the difference. What if you're in a situation where you feel like you have few or no friends? This can be a tough one, but the Stoic approach would suggest that it might be time to take action. You don't have to get bogged down in the idea that your situation is hopeless. Start by taking small steps to create new connections, even if that means starting with a simple hello or reaching out to someone new. We don't need to get overwhelmed by problems that we can address with patience and effort over time. So what's next? Start writing down your triggers. those moments, memories, or thoughts that send you into a spiral of sadness. Once you identify these triggers, you've taken the first step toward dismantling them. This is your foundation for understanding and changing your emotional responses. Changing ingrained thought patterns isn't easy. It's like learning a new language. You'll mess up, you'll make mistakes, but the key is to keep practicing. With time and persistence, you'll find that you can rewire your brain to respond differently to the things that once brought you down. Now let's talk about how to put this Stoic approach into action. Once you understand your triggers, you can start thinking about how to reframe those situations so they don't affect you as deeply. It's about becoming proactive in your response to triggers. Instead of letting them control your emotions, you can take control of how you respond to them. The Stoics believe that while we can't always control external events, we can always control how we interpret and react to them. By practicing this approach, you can begin to free yourself from the grip of sadness, one thought at a time. As we dive deeper into managing sadness, we now come to a powerful yet often misunderstood concept: acceptance. You might be thinking, acceptance? Does that mean I just give up? Does it mean I have to accept all the bad things forever? Absolutely not. Acceptance, in the Stoic sense, is far from resignation. It's not about surrendering to something painful and saying, I'll live with it forever. It's about understanding that rather than fighting against life's challenges, we can choose a more empowered way to deal with them. Picture this. You're caught in a raging ocean, fighting against the current. You're struggling, your energy draining with every effort, and yet you're getting nowhere. This is how many of us approach life's difficulties. We resist, we fight, we exhaust ourselves, all the while making no progress. But what if, instead of fighting the current, you accepted it? What if, instead of swimming against the waves, you swam parallel to the shore and waited for the right moment to swim back in? That's the essence of what we mean by acceptance. The Stoics had a word for this type of acceptance. They called it amor fati, which translates to love of fate. It doesn't mean you have to like everything that happens to you or approve of it, but it does mean you recognize that whatever has occurred is now a fact. From there, you can move forward. It's about acknowledging reality, not denying it, and then choosing to respond in a way that allows you to regain control. Now here's a truth that might surprise you. Much of our sadness comes from our resistance. We resist the pain. We resist the unfairness. We resist the fact that things aren't the way we want them to be. This resistance doesn't change the reality of the situation. It only amplifies our suffering, creating a tension that only increases our distress. The more we push against the pain, the deeper it seems to embed itself in our hearts and minds. So how do we start practicing acceptance? It begins with awareness. The simple realization that we are resisting something that's already happened. A great way to build this awareness is through mindfulness. Let me guide you through a simple exercise. Close your eyes, take a deep breath in, and then exhale slowly. Notice the sensation of the air as it enters your lungs and leaves your body. Don't judge it. Don't try to change it. Just observe. This is the foundation of mindful breathing. By paying attention to the present moment without judgment, we create space for acceptance. The more we practice this mindfulness, the easier it becomes to recognize where we are resisting and how we can choose to let go. What happens when we apply this acceptance to our emotional triggers? Imagine the next time something sets you off, maybe an argument, a failure, or a disappointment. Instead of spiraling into frustration or sadness, pause for a moment, acknowledge the situation. Notice that it's happening without judgment. From this moment of acceptance, you have the space to respond differently. And when you choose acceptance, something extraordinary happens. It's as if a pressure valve is released. The tension melts away. Resistance crumbles. You gain clarity, the ability to see things as they are, not as you wish they were. This is where the true power to change lies. At the point of acceptance, you're no longer fighting against reality. Instead, you're embracing it. And from that place of clarity, you can begin to take action. But let's be clear about what Stoicism teaches us. It's not about passively accepting everything that comes your way without action. No, Stoicism is about acknowledging what you can't control and taking decisive action on what you can. In life, there are things within your control and things you can't change. Your thoughts, your actions, your values, that's all yours. You are the captain of that ship. What the economy does or what decisions the government makes may be beyond your control in the short term. But here's the key. While you can't control what's already happened, you can control how you respond to it. So for example, if your sadness is tied to losing your job due to the economy, you can't change that it happened after the fact. But what you can do is shift your focus. Instead of ruminating on the past, ask yourself, how can I take action now to move forward? What steps can I take to change my situation or better prepare for the future? This is where your true power lies. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up. It means finding the strength to embrace what is, and from that place of acceptance, taking empowered steps toward what can be. As we've discussed, true transformation begins when we take action and regain control over what we can. It's not just about accepting our emotions, it's about choosing how we respond to them. So how do we put this newfound awareness into practice? Let's break it down. What can you control? The answer is simple: your response. If something happens in your life, you can choose how to react. Will you stay stuck in despair, or will you take action? For example, if you've lost a job, you could easily fall into the trap of feeling helpless, overwhelmed, and defeated. But instead of letting that despair control you, consider what you can do. Are you updating your resume? Are you networking? Are you learning new skills? These small but powerful actions are what will propel you forward. Here's the thing. What we want to avoid is what psychologists call learned helplessness. This happens when you feel like you have no control over your situation, so you give up and do nothing. That's the exact opposite of Stoicism. Stoicism is about reclaiming your power and doing something, no matter how small the action may seem. It's about taking control of your life by making the decision to act. So how can you apply this to your life? Start by thinking about one thing that's making you sad. It could be a situation, a relationship, or an external challenge. Ask yourself, can I directly control this? If the answer is no, then the next step is to identify what parts of your response you can control. You can't control other people's judgments about your decisions, but you can control how you react. You can choose to set clear boundaries. You can choose not to engage in situations where people aren't listening to you. And don't forget, small actions matter. One small win can start a chain reaction of positive momentum. Sending that one email, reading a single chapter from a self-improvement book, These are powerful actions. They remind you that you're not helpless. You're in control of your life when you choose to be. This, my friends, is the core of our framework. We began by acknowledging our sadness instead of ignoring it. Then we accepted it as part of our human experience. And finally, we focused on what we can control: our thoughts, our actions, and our reactions. That's the foundation of making real change. But what happens next is where the magic begins. The real transformation happens when we choose to act. When we actively work to build a life that pushes back against the forces beyond our control, that's when we start to feel empowered. Think of it like this. Recurring sadness is like a plant. If you only focus on understanding it or controlling your immediate reactions to it, it's like pulling the branches off the plant. But if you don't address the roots, the sadness will keep coming back. The roots are your thoughts, your beliefs, and your values. Here's the key. The virtues you cherish, wisdom, justice, courage, are not mere cliches. These virtues are the deep, life-affirming roots that nourish your inner strength and push out the weeds of negativity. Modern psychology backs this up. Studies show that having a sense of meaning and purpose is one of the best ways to buffer against emotional distress. When you're working towards something bigger than yourself, when you're living in alignment with your true values, sadness starts to fade. So what does this look like in your everyday life? It means actively choosing activities that connect you to your core values. When you engage in things that truly bring you joy, whether it's painting, writing, playing music, or any other form of creative expression, you're aligning with your deeper purpose. And that alignment will naturally lift you up, pushing sadness further away. In the end, it's not about avoiding sadness. It's about learning how to respond to it in a way that empowers you to grow. By understanding the roots of your sadness, accepting it, and taking action, you create the conditions for a life full of meaning, purpose, and emotional freedom. As we've explored the power of acceptance and taking action, there's one more crucial piece to this puzzle: connection. You see, human connection is one of the most powerful antidotes to sadness. Let's dive into why this is so essential and how you can start building meaningful relationships that support your mental well-being. Do you value politics or specific causes? If so, why not take action? Volunteer your time or attend events where your values are expressed. But it doesn't have to stop there. Take the next step. Connect with others who share those values. Isolation is like sadness's best friend. It thrives in isolation. The antidote: relationships. One of the clearest findings in modern science is this: building relationships and joining a community is one of the best things you can do for your mental health. Of all the strategies we've discussed, this one might just be the most impactful. Think about it. How many times have you heard that community is key? Well, research backs this up. So what are you waiting for? It's time to put yourself out there. Try to make friends. But how hard are you really trying? Sure, you know you have to make an effort for dating, but how much effort are you putting into your friendships? If you haven't been trying as hard as you could, now is the time to start. Find a hobby, an interest, or an activity that you're passionate about, and seek out groups in your community who gather around those same things. The best part? You don't have to discuss your sadness with anyone while you're there. Sometimes just being part of a community can help lift your spirits. The simple act of showing up and participating is a step in the right direction. But if you're comfortable and ready to open up, having a friend or a community to share what's making you sad with can be incredibly healing. And if you're open to it, therapy can also be a helpful option. But even if you're not ready for that step, simply finding a supportive community can make a significant difference. Here at the Stoic community, we like to think of ourselves as a friendly shoulder here to support you on your journey. Now let's take a moment to review what we've covered so far. We've given you a set of tools, a basket of strategies to help you fight sadness. First, think about your sadness. What's causing it? Identify what's out of your control and let go of those things that you can't change. Then take a look at your judgments. Are they serving you or are they making things worse? Challenge those judgments and replace the ones that aren't helping. Next, identify your triggers, the things that spark your sadness. See what you can do about them. Accept what's happened and can't be changed. Use your agency, focus on what you can influence, and then act on it. One of the most powerful actions you can take is to join a community, especially if you can find a group that aligns with your values or interests. This is a fantastic way to combat sadness and improve your well-being. So what can you do right now? Pick one of these techniques and try it today. Maybe it's reaching out to a friend, joining a local group, or simply writing down your judgments and challenging them. See how it feels. Then tomorrow, add another technique to your toolkit. The key is to build these strategies into your life, one small step at a time. Remember, these Stoic practices aren't just ancient philosophy. They're practical tools you can use today. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. This is the core of Stoic philosophy, realizing that your mind is the only thing you fully control. Everything else is out of your hands, but with the right mindset and actions, you can build the strength to navigate whatever life throws your way. So start today, use these techniques, take back control, and become the happy person you've always been meant to be. And most importantly, know that we are rooting for you every step of the way. Good luck.